the $100 MBA Show, your business pit stop where you fill up on tips and strategies and walk away with a big gulp of motivation with our daily 10-minute business lessons for the real world. I'm your host, your coach, your teacher, Omar Zenhom. I'm also the co-founder of the $100 MBA, a complete business training and community online. And today is a guest teacher lesson. We have a very, very interesting man on today. Jia Jiang is the author of Rejection Proof and the man behind the 100 Days of Rejection Therapy Experience. This man is brilliant, and today he's going to teach us how to kick your fear of rejection in the face. Seriously, this is going to be an incredible lesson. You cannot afford to miss this one. Let's get down to business. This episode of the $100 MBA Show is brought to you by Rerun. Need to automate your recurring subscription or membership billing? Rerun helps you accept payments via credit card and e-check, online and offline. Plus, Rerun automates email communication and handles expired or declined credit cards. Visit rerunapp.com/podcast for a free trial today. That's rerunapp.com/podcast. Jia is one of the most interesting people I've come across this year. He's the founder of fearbuster.com, which you should really check out. And his TED Talk is one of the most talked about TED Talks in the entrepreneurial space. A few years ago, Jia suffered a rejection in his business. He was crushed, but he also was angry at how much rejection affected him and wanted to learn how we can all crush our fear of rejection. So he decided to create his 100 Days of Rejection Therapy. In those 100 days, he challenges himself. The goal of these daily challenges was to desensitize himself from the pain of rejection. So every day he would do something new, something different that would desensitize him from feeling crushed by rejection. Things like borrowing $100 from a stranger, requesting a burger refill, ask strangers for compliments, do a bike race at Toys R Us, fix a PC at the Apple Store, and even interview President Obama. The point of these exercises or these challenges are not to actually accomplish them, but to get over his fear of rejection. And a lot of the times, people said no, and he had to deal with that. But surprisingly, sometimes people said yes. So I'm going to let Jia take it from here and tell us how we too can kick our fear of rejection in the face. Take it away, Jia.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jia Jiang, and people call me the Rejection Guy. And they do that because I talk about nothing but rejection. The reason for that was I was a tech startup entrepreneur, and back in 2012, I was rejected with an investment. And after that, I learned how much I hated and feared rejection. I thought if I want to be a better entrepreneur, I better overcome this fear. So in the next 100 days, I went out and did this blog called 100 Days of Rejection, where every day I would go out and look for something to be rejected. And I would film myself in the process. And as a result, I became much stronger. And this blog actually went viral. And it turned out I was not the only person who was afraid of rejection. Everyone was, no matter they're entrepreneurs or people in corporate or they're freelancers, rejection hold them back one way or the other. So it's through my personal research and learning, I found that so many things you can learn about rejection so you can overcome it, befriend it, and actually turn rejection into opportunities. This is my topic, and today I want to share some of the very practical tips with you guys on how to handle rejection. The first thing you need to understand is what rejection is. Rejection is one person walking up to another, or maybe a group of people making a request, and that person or that group made a decision and says no. That's it. That's rejection. And why is it so painful? Because biologically, we hate rejection. It's in ancient times when people were rejected from a group or even from someone, that means that person is dead. He's on his own being a hunter, fighting animals, and he cannot survive. And that type of fear stayed in our DNA until nowadays. That's why we hate rejection that much. But if you think about it, that situation for you to walk up to someone and get rejected, that's nothing more than an opinion by the rejecter. If you think about opinions, is really the cheapest resource on earth. We'll have opinions, and we're more than willing to give our opinions to you for free. In fact, if you turn on your TV and open up internet, you can see everyone has their opinions. So rejections is nothing more than the opinion of the rejecter. It really says a lot more than the person than you. However, we mistake rejection as some sort of truth about who we are and our request or our product or our look or our idea. And we think the universe is telling us something. But really, rejection is nothing more than an opinion. So when you go out there, when you are making a request, you hear someone says no to you, that's automatically painful, right? You just want to get out of there as soon as possible. It's like you want to rip off the Band-Aid as soon as possible instead of slowly, painfully peel off that Band-Aid. So, but however, that's the worst thing you really want to do. Because when you do that, not only you cannot fight, you cannot turn that no into a yes, you are actually making an indictment of yourself. You're at the back of your mind, you're telling yourself these small stories about, man, my idea is not good enough. This is so painful. Maybe I should quit. Let me just try to find the next person as soon as possible. Things like that. However, if you stay engaged after you hear the word no with the rejecter, you can have so many things that you can discover. First thing you want to say is you want to ask why. So someone says no to you, you say, may I know why that is? I'll share a story. So in one of my 100 days of rejection, I walk up to stranger's door and with flowers and ask that person if I can plant my flower in his backyard. And he said no. And he turned away. And before he could close the door, and just ask him, may I know why you said no? And he said, it's not something you're offering that I don't want. It's actually, my dog will dig up everything that's in my backyard. So it's not like I don't like the flower, but I can't take that flower. But if you walk across the street and see my neighbor, she loves flowers, and maybe she will take flower from you. And lo and behold, that neighbor loved my offering. And half an hour later, there was a flower in her backyard. So in this case, only because I asked the word why, and that learned the underlying reason that someone would reject me. It's not because I'm not good looking. It's not because I'm not smart. It's not because I'm not trustworthy. It was because what I offered did not fit his needs. And he trusted me enough to give me a referral, using the sales term. And I converted a referral into a sale. And the second thing you want to do is you can make another request, usually a lesser request. So this is also counterintuitive. We thought we're rejected once already. Let's just get out of there. But if we stay engaged and ask for something lesser, the chance of you getting a yes goes way up. And I'll give you another example. Once in my 100 days of rejection, I went to a hotel, a very fancy hotel in Austin, Texas. I asked the front desk, can I get a free night of sleep in one of the rooms? Of course, she said no. And then immediately I said, well, if you can't do that, can you actually take me to a room to take a nap? I want to try your fancy bed and fancy mattress. And they did. And it was really fun. So I came back, and that illustrated that if you don't want to just run away, you actually want to ask for something else. And why? Because people want to negotiate. People don't want to feel like jerks. People don't want to reject your request twice, especially if there are different rejections. If they do that, that's what they're saying is they're rejecting you as a person. People usually aren't that way. People want to say no to your request, but if you are reasonable, if you return in kind and negotiate, they usually want to negotiate with you. And another tip to handle rejection is you want to make the other person a collaborator. You can ask the question, how? All right. Now you're being rejected, but you can ask, well, I really want this. How can I make this happen? You're offering to help to make the other person to help you to make this happen. So what you're doing is you're trying to put on a helper's hat to the other person rather than a enemy hat. Sometimes we have an adversarial feeling when we talk to someone about wanting to get something done, especially when we're getting rejected. So that usually doesn't end well. But if you turn that person into a helper, if you offer yourself to help him to make that happen, then people again want to help. Most of them do. So next time when you go to your boss or your manager to ask for a raise, and if you get turned down, don't feel too bad and just walk away. And ask, how do you think we can make this happen? Is that should I increase my performance, or is there any certain goals I can meet, or can you guide me to make that happen? So that you are actually turning the manager into a collaborator. So when the time comes, you can actually get that raise. You're not the only one who win this victory. So with your manager. So the 3 small tips I want to share today is, after you hear a rejection, ask why and try to find out the reason and then address that reason. And secondly, you want to ask for a lesser request. Now, when you're making that concession, sometimes the other person would return in kind. And number 3 is you want to help the other person to help you. So ask the question, how? So before I end, I want to add one more thing. I want to tell you the danger of avoiding rejection. Because rejection is very painful, we have this tendency of not asking people for things we need or we want, because we are so afraid to be rejected. We don't want that pain. So much so that we rather say no to ourselves than having someone else say no to us. But that's one of the worst things you can do in life. People often say the worst thing you can hear is no, but that's not the case. The worst thing you can do is to say no to yourself. Because when you're not going out there to be rejected, you are getting rejected by yourself. And as default, you're getting ignored by the world. So no matter what you do, don't get ignored by the world. So if you want to learn more and find out more about me, go to fearbuster.com. In fact, I have a page for you guys. I have a small video just for you who are listening to $100 MBA. So go to fearbuster.com/100MBA. Again, fearbuster.com/100MBA. If you want to read my book, in fact, it's just coming out right now. It's called Rejection Proof. You can go on Amazon.com and find that book. It has not just my story, but all the learnings and tips and research that goes into how you can become rejection proof, how you can overcome that fear of rejection. And lastly, I run a course. It's called Rejection Gym. It's basically, I believe, courage is not something you're born with. It's almost like a muscle that you can exercise, you can gain strength on. And so, I designed this course so you can go through your own 100 days of rejection and strengthen your courage muscle and become stronger. So in the end, you can ask anything from anyone, anywhere. Okay. Happy rejection.
Guys, I want to take a quick moment to tell you about another podcast you really should be subscribed to, and that's The Art of Charm. The Art of Charm is a podcast that brings together artists, entrepreneurs, thinkers, leaders, and all-around interesting people to discuss relationships, life hacking, and success. The host of Art of Charm, Jordan Harbinger, was a guest teacher here on the $100 MBA show. A valuable lesson delivered. And you can get more of Jordan and more of his lessons on truly leveling up your life. We're talking about your relationships, your friendships, at work, at home, and everywhere in between. And this is not pop psychology and superficial advice. This is a show that offers meaningful, fun, and life-changing insights with a practical edge so listeners can apply something right out of the box every show, every day. I actually listened to an episode on The Art of Charm with Scott Stratton that's amazing. They talk about brand, they talk about business, they talk about how to be a great entrepreneur as a person and how not to get caught up with a lot of politics that are out there. Awesome episode. Check that episode out along with all the other ones. Guys, we all deserve an extraordinary life. So go to artofcharmpodcast.com or find The Art of Charm in iTunes or Stitcher and start taking your life to the next level. I really enjoy this show, and I think you'll enjoy it too. So go ahead and subscribe to The Art of Charm. Jia, thank you so much for that amazing, amazing lesson. And thank you for reaching out to me and suggesting to do this lesson on the $100 MBA show. I found it so helpful. I think you guys listening, the audience, loved it too. If you want to give Jia a shout out and thank him, tweet at him at JIAJIANG. If you like this lesson, then you're going to love Jia's new book, Rejection Proof. You could check that out at fearbuster.com/book. Guys, thank you so much for listening to the $100 MBA show. If there is somebody you would love to have on the $100 MBA show to teach a guest lesson, you can help me out. tweet at them and tell them you would love to see them teach a lesson on the $100 MBA show. Make sure you at me so I can give you some love. At BizRepublic is my handle, B-I-Z Republic. And while you're showing us love, drop us an iTunes rating and a review. We would love to hear from you. We read every single review, and we made it super easy for you to give us a rating and a review. If you're listening on your iPhone, just tap the cover art on this lesson that you're listening to, and you'll see our show notes. In our show notes, you'll see a line that says, give us a rating and review. Click that link, and the rest is a piece of cake. Guys, I want to leave you with this. As you can see, John's an extraordinary person. But if you look at what he did, it's not that complicated. He just challenged himself. He came up with something interesting and fun and wasn't afraid to do something different. But he took action. Even though he wasn't paid to do these 100 days of rejection, it was a great body of work that he could later build upon and write a book for and build his brand. So take that lesson on board as well. You find something interesting, you have a great idea, but it requires some work, some research. Don't turn it down because it may seem like too much time. You could do this, and it could be fun and interesting, just like Jia's 100 Days of Rejection Therapy. Keep your mind open and take action when needed. All right, guys, I'll check you in tomorrow's episode. Until then, take care.